sure? Just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany, and you may call me, Tiffany. Today you will be watching me try to save these tiny mint plants. I have been blessed with a very black thumb. So I'm going to be doing the best that I can for these little guys, but I really do not have much hope for them. As you can see, the container is entirely too small for them. So we are going to transplant them. And because of how I am as a person, I can't just plop them into the new containers. I gotta be extra about it and decorate the pots before worrying about saving them. Don't come at me about this. My priorities are just fine. You cannot have a plant that you are trying to rescue in a pot that is not entirely decorated. Who's ever heard of such nonsense? We will also be talking about a very haunting and appalling story that happened to a woman in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, I will be cracking jokes in this story to lighten the mood. This does not translate to me necessarily finding it funny. Again, this is because of, well, who I am as a person. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard about this case, but for those of you who haven't, this is everything that I know. On July 21st, 2021, so this is very recent, a woman was home alone preparing dinner for her husband who was at work. It was a very hot night, as it is known to be in Las Vegas. The temperatures were reaching almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit, or 37 degrees Celsius. She decided to, open a window. It is believed that this action captured the attention of a man who was walking down the street at that very moment. The woman watched as he then turned around to head right to her door. In this moment, she knew something was kind of messed up in this situation. And thankfully, she had perfect intuition.
Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? What? Are you sure? I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure? I just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive? I just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive?
Now, listening to this exchange, you would assume that the man was responding to the woman on the other side of the door. The woman, in fact, never actually came to the door or acknowledged Captain Psycho. She decided to duck down and call her husband, who then got on the Ring app to see, what the hell's going on at his home. And I have literally never seen a more persuasive ad for Ring.
Are you sure? Are you absolutely certain? Sure.
So who are you?
What? Yeah? Are you sure?
Who are you?
Hey, I just had a couple questions. I just wanted to ask you about TV show. Yeah, can you hear me? What I'm looking for is for the girl that's in the house to come out here because I'm going to rape her and kill her. Can you have her open the door?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he would be so happy to oblige you, Sir Crazy Lot. What better way for a husband to say I love you to their wife than to force them into the arms of someone with intentions such as those?
I'm going to rape and kill the girl that's on the other side of this door when she lets me in. I want to rape her and kill her because I have a knife and a gun. Yeah, and I'm going to knock on her door again. All right. Are you sure? I have no idea. What?
I'm highly sure that the husband simply did not know what else to say after that one question. I mean, what do you say in response to that? The fact that this man was so calm in replying with his intentions is honestly quite disturbing. As if he's simply asking his neighbors for a cup of sugar. It gives me the chills hearing how his voice goes up an octave when talking to the husband. It's almost as if he's addressing a longtime friend. Or he honestly expects the husband will simply allow this man to harm his wife. I can only imagine how terrified and stressed this couple were over this incident. Honestly, my heart truly goes out to this woman and her husband. This situation could have ended so much differently than it did. The couple took this video and then posted it on a couple of their Facebook groups in order to warn other people about this man. The video quickly went viral, receiving 60,000 views within 24 hours. Now, Kieran Stewart was born and raised in Las Vegas and was very aware of safety issues around her. She made sure to regularly inform her family and friends on ways to be alert to their surroundings. I mean, you can never be too careful, especially living in a city like Las Vegas. On July 22nd, 2021, the very next day, Karen watched the video and shared it on her own page. She was working in the lobby of the Clark County Marriage License Bureau at the Regional Justice Center. She saw the man standing on the street, and she pulled out her phone because, he looked similar to the guy that she was watching earlier that morning. She double-checked, quadruple-checked that this was in fact that same man who creeped her out just that very morning. I mean, honestly, what are the odds? Then Karen alerted a Las Vegas city marshal. The cops swiftly came out and found him not far from where the reported incident took place. 24 hours. And he had managed to travel a whole mile. It has to be the slowest meanderer I've ever heard of. He even walks slower than I do. When the police arrested him, he identified himself as the Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Oh no.
Holy Spirit, activate.
I said
Holy Spirit, activate. Activate. Activate.
Holy Spirit, activate. Holy Spirit,
Activate.
I said Holy Spirit, activate. Holy Spirit.
Activate.
And refused to answer any more of their questions. I simply cannot imagine what he would have to hide. They ran his fingerprints and apparently received no hits on them. So they had him booked as John Doe. They charged him with aggravated stalking, coercing with the threat of force, and attempted burglary. They clearly figured out that he was in fact not the Holy Spirit, because they added the charge of providing a false statement to a public officer. 'Cause hey, a guy like this can never have too many charges. On July 26th, they were able to identify him as Christopher Sumbs. I don't know how they were able to figure out who he was. It must have been divine intervention. Police were able to discover he was a fugitive out of California. They did not release what he was wanted for in California. But through more investigation, it became apparent that this was not the first time that Christopher had targeted a woman who was home alone. Exactly as one would expect from a creep of this magnitude. A couple of months prior to the recording, Erika Washington had an equally bone-chilling interaction with Christopher.
As soon as I saw the video that was posted on Facebook, I knew it was the exact same person. He got loud and belligerent and he started screaming. And because my peephole is pretty large, that you could see spit coming out of his mouth. And so I slammed it and I'm screaming through the door, get away from my house. As a woman, as a person, for someone to scream things like that at you is, I can imagine it'll keep her on her guard even with this person being in custody.
Miss Washington lives right down the road from the other woman. Again, a few months. He is such a slow meanderer. I just want to take a small second to acknowledge Erika Washington. This strong, inspiring woman moved to Las Vegas from Detroit in 2008. She worked as a freelance writer for the only Black newspaper in Nevada. In 2015, she became the executive director for Make It Work Nevada and Make It Work Nevada Education Fund. Now, Make It Work Nevada is a nonprofit organization with the purpose of organizing and educating women of color on issues such as affordable childcare, paid family leave, pay equity, paid sick days, racial and reproductive justice. So clearly she cares highly about bettering and educating her community. Education is an extremely useful and necessary tool. I will post her links down below if y'all want to give her and her companies the well-deserved pat on the back. Now, back to the less wholesome person in this story. Unsurprising to anyone else in the room, they discovered that he was also wanted in St. Louis County, Minnesota. A warrant was issued on October 9th, 2020 for violation of probation. He was charged with misdemeanor domestic assault and third-degree assault causing substantial bodily harm, which, of course, is a felony. He was supposed to appear in court on July 27th, 2021, but he refused to be transported. I had no idea that was even a thing you could do while in custody, but apparently it is. Thankfully, the court decided to hold him without bail due to his fugitive status. One thing is for sure, he wouldn't have gotten very far if they did decide to give him bail and release him. On July 29th, the court was finally blessed with his appearance. Virtually, but hey, beggars, choosers, all of that noise. The judge ordered him to complete a competency evaluation before his next hearing. On August 19th, Karen Stewart, the woman who reported Christopher to the police, received a Distinguished Citizens Award. Honestly, if it wasn't for Miss Stewart being so vigilant and making the report to the proper authorities, this person would very likely still be on the streets, terrorizing any woman who happened to catch his twisted eye. A day later, Christopher attended his competency hearing. The judge deemed him incompetent, and he was then referred for treatment and restoration of competency. 2 days later, on August 22nd, District Court Judge Christy Craig ordered for him to be evaluated. Christopher was then turned over to the state for physical and psychological evaluation, where he will remain until he is deemed competent to stand trial. It is said that at one point he was a well-rounded guy with a very bright future until drugs or mental illness affected his personality. I'm unsure if this is in fact true, but it is obviously a very high possibility, considering he at one point owned his own holistic herbal medicine company. It looks as if he filed for the trademark in 2013. The trademark lapsed in March of 21. The possible reason is simply he did not pay for the reinstatement needed after that 6-year mark. This could be a snowball to whatever made him change so drastically, if indeed there was a change in him. It is known that he has lived in multiple different states such as Arizona, Washington, and Minnesota. In Arizona, on March of 21, a case was filed against him in family court. The case appears to have been voided. I'm no expert, but Dr. Google says this translates to: a judgment entered by a court is void if a court lacks jurisdiction over the parties or subject matter of a lawsuit. I don't know what that translates in normal people speak, but do your own translations and then clue me in on normal people translations, please. The subject involved in this case is a minor, and because of this, I will redact the name of the woman who filed the suit against Christopher, simply to help maintain protection of the child. We don't do anything that could possibly cause harm or negatively affect children on this channel. We do have some standards here. This is an ongoing case, and I will most likely be following it very closely, and I will update this channel if anything substantial comes up. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm open to constructive criticism and a healthy debate. Just handle me gently, because I'm fragile as fuck. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Please subscribe if you would like. I promise I do not bite hard. I look forward to seeing y'all in my next video. Y'all take care of yourselves out there, and if you are going to crime, at least crime intelligently.